Good morning, everyone. I'm super excited because today is the day we get to make our senior slushies. I'm going to show you the recipe. You should have gotten a packet that included your newspaper article, and then on page 11 of your packet is the senior slushie recipe. So before we start, let's check and see what we need. If you have these things at home, you can sure follow along and cook with me. Pause when you need to. If you don't, you can just watch and see how they turn out. We'll practice a few different skills. So before we start, first thing we want to do is wash our hands, and I already did that at the sink. Next, we're going to go through and see what we need for ingredients. 3 cups of strawberries, hulled and halved. Now I have strawberries. Are they hulled and halved? What does that mean? What that means is we have to cut off the tops. Where's the camera here? We have to cut off the tops of the strawberries and slice them in half. But before we do that, we are going to wash the strawberries. Guess where I got these? Obviously at the grocery store, but did I find them in the cupboard or the fridge? That's right, the fridge. They stay fresher longer in the refrigerator. And strawberries are on sale right now, so you can get a great deal on them at the store. So we have our strawberries, but we're gonna have to wash them and then hull them and cut them in half. So that is our first ingredient, and we do have it, so we will make a check. We've got the strawberries. 1/4 cup of honey. Now this is one you can substitute. If you don't have honey, you can use sugar or another sweetener. And I do have honey. I think a lot of you probably usually see the honey in the Honey Bear. This is some kind of cool honey I got. I got it from a couple in Iowa that has their own bees and makes and sells their own honey. So I had to warm it up in the microwave because it was getting a little bit hard. So there's my honey, and we need 1/4 cup. So I need to make sure I have a way to measure my honey and my strawberries. I've got my measuring cup here to measure the 3 cups of strawberries. And the 2 cups of ice. I'm gonna have to grab 1/4 cup for the honey. And then our next ingredient, I'm gonna check off the honey here. And where would we find the honey? In the fridge or the cupboard? In the cupboard, in the cabinet. Honey stays good forever. All right, our next item is vanilla extract. Where do you think you would find vanilla extract? In the fridge? By the soup? In the cereal cupboard? Probably in the spice cabinet. That's where I keep mine anyway. And there is my vanilla extract. It says pure vanilla extract. You can use imitation. If you do not have vanilla, you can make your slushie without it and it'll taste just fine. The next thing we need is 2 cups of ice. I'm going to measure my ice in here after I measure my strawberries. And I'm gonna get ice out of the freezer, but I am going to wait because I don't want it to melt before we start cooking. So we have the ice, and it is chilling right now. And last but not least, a blender. And I've got my blender right here. We need to screw on the base. The big thing to be careful with when you're using a blender is these blades that poke up and down. They are very, 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 very sharp and can easily cut your finger. So don't touch them and never put your hand in the blender. So we're gonna put the glass over that and screw the base on. And then we have the machine that we put the blender on. And we'll get that ready to go. And I'll show you how to get that ready once we're ready to make our smoothies. All right, let's get those strawberries ready. The first thing I need to do with my strawberries is wash them. So what I'm gonna do is dump them into this colander or strainer here. See, it's got all these holes in the bottom. I'm gonna dump my strawberries in. We need 3 cups, so I think I'm gonna do 2 containers. I don't know if you noticed on the recipe, but this is a serving for 4 people. So we need enough for 4 people. I'm gonna stop the screen share so you can see this a little bit better here. I'm gonna show you how we rinse the strawberries. If you have vinegar or fruit wash, you can spray the strawberries with that first and let them soak, but I like to use warm water and rinse them very, very thoroughly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that while you guys watch, and then I'll come back and we'll slice them up. Okay, now that the strawberries have had a chance to drip dry over the sink a little bit, we are going to dump them out on some paper towels. And again, we're making sure our hands are clean for this. And kind of pat them dry so they're not super wet. It's not a big deal if they have some moisture on them because we're making slushies. So we're going to be adding ice anyway. So I'm going to slide my dried off strawberries, slide berries over and get ready to hull and cut them. Let's look back at our recipe here. This says 3 cups of strawberries, hulled and halved. So I got out my nice Pyrex measuring cup, and I'm gonna fill it up to 3 cups. Can you find the 3 cups on there? It's right here, 3 cups. So I gotta fill it all the way up to that line. So that's quite a bit of strawberries. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll see if I can figure out how to speed this show up so you can watch me work super speedy quick. Before I start slicing with my knife, I'm going to show you this. This is kind of cool. It's actually a strawberry huller. It is old though. See, it's rusty. I think it's good to use rusty things on your food. No. But let me find a berry that's kind of icky here that I won't use in my smoothie. Oh, this one's got a kind of gross spot on it. All right, so this is kind of cool. This is the strawberry huller. You poke it in on each side, and you go down, and you pinch, and you pull it right out. How cool is that? But I am not going to use these because they are kind of icky. What I am going to do, and I can pull you a little closer for this, what I am going to do is simply slice off the top as close to the green as I can so we don't waste too much, and then cut them in half. And it looks like I missed a little bit of the stem, so I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to be careful with the knife so I don't get my finger. If you don't have a lot of practice with a knife, this would be a good thing to use a paring knife for, but you could also wear some of those knife safety gloves that we learned about at school. I'm going to throw my strawberry hulls back in the colander here because I'm going to put them outside for the animals. I live out in the country, so I'll feed them to the birds. So I'm going to just keep doing this. Slice off the top carefully, and then I'm going to stand the strawberry that way and slice down. See where my fingers are? I'm making sure they're behind the knife. What would happen if I grabbed here? Ouch, I could cut my finger. Or if I grabbed back here, I could cut my thumb. So I'm making sure to hold on here, and I'm cutting down towards the cutting board. I've got a silicone cutting board. I like these too because if you cut up a whole bunch of strawberries at once and you want to dump them all in, they're really handy and easy to pick up. No, I didn't speed this up. This is just how fast I really am, guys. I'm just going to show you a quick demo here. See, you go like this, fold, and slide it in. All right, how much do we have? Oh, not quite. Not quite. A little over a cup, but not quite 2 cups. So we're going to keep going. Okay, we have 3 cups of strawberries, and the way I know this is I put it nice and flat on a level surface. I get my head down there and I look across at the line and I can see where it says 3 cups. Now from your view, it might look like it's a little above, and that's because we've got strawberries. Strawberries you can't really pack down, so I might have put a little bit extra in there just to make sure we had a full 3 cups. But that's our 3 cups of strawberries. Next, we're going to measure our other ingredients. We need 1/4 cup of honey and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Sometimes teaspoon is written TSP, and that's how I usually write it, with a little T, S and P. And sometimes it's written with a lowercase t. An uppercase T, or a capital T, would be a tablespoon. And we don't want a tablespoon, we just want a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So let's do 1/4 cup of honey, and then we'll do our teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, here's our honey. And I have a measuring cup. You can see inside it says 1/4. So I'm going to fill that to the edge to measure 1/4 of a cup. If your honey isn't runny, you can pop it in the microwave for a couple seconds or use a spoon to fill your measuring cup. So 1/4 cup of honey, I filled it to the gray line, and that is good. There's my 1/4 cup of honey. And then it says I need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Well, I have a problem. I have plenty of vanilla extract. I do not have a measuring spoon that says 1 teaspoon. I have one that says 1/2 teaspoon. So what am I gonna do? This is a half and this is a half. So if I put them together, that makes a whole. I'm gonna put 2 scoops of vanilla in, and I will just add that directly into the blender because I believe that's our next step. So I'll move the blender over a little bit. I have it plugged in already. I made sure it was off before I plugged it in. I need to put the blender itself on to even be able to turn it on. So I'm going to take it off of the base while we add the ingredients. That way we make sure we don't have any accidents. Let's pull up our recipe to look at one more time before we add our ingredients and make sure we're doing it in the right order. The first step says put strawberries, honey, and vanilla extract into blender. Then we are going to blend until smooth. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing the recipe so you can watch as we do this. We're gonna put the strawberries. The cool thing about the blender is that it has a way to measure on it too, on the sides. And you can see there's the 3 cups. We did pretty good, didn't we? So we put our 3 cups of strawberry, 1/4 cup of honey. Ooh, this is gonna be delicious. And then we're gonna put a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and that just adds some fun flavor. If you don't have vanilla extract, again, it's not a big deal. I have some sugar-free vanilla syrup that would probably work too. I bet this would be good if you added in a little bit of yogurt and made it as a smoothie. What's your favorite fruit? You don't have to do this with strawberries. I'm growing raspberries. I'm trying to peel the top off our vanilla here. I'm growing raspberries in my yard this summer, so I'm hoping to make some raspberry slushies. Okay, and I said that we need a full teaspoon, so I'm gonna have to do 2 of these. So I'm gonna pour over this so I don't spill. And there's 1, and there's 2. Oop, and I got a little teeny bit extra, but that's okay. If you get too much extra, this is very, very strong, and it's gonna make your smoothie taste a little too vanilla-y. Okay, Our next step is to put our blender on the base, and it slides on and locks. Oh, I have it on the wrong way here. It slides on and locks in. It will not turn on unless it is locked in, like that. And then I have bad news. I don't have a lid for my blender. So I'm going to have to use a substitute lid and hold it on very tight. What do you think would happen if I turned it on without a lid? We'd have strawberries everywhere. So I am going to hold this lid on. It covers the whole top of the blender. I'm going to hold it on really tight with one hand when I turn the blender on. If you've never used a blender, don't do this by yourself. Make sure you have permission and make sure you have a helper. There are a lot of buttons on my blender. Every blender looks different, but I know we want to do this until it is smooth. So some of the options on here are to grate or shred. We don't want to do that. We want to puree. We want to make it nice and smooth, our blend. So I'm going to push puree and we'll see what happens. It's going to be loud, so if you don't like loud noises, you can cover your ears. This might be something to listen to music to while you make at home. Ready? Here we go. Look at that. I would say that is pretty smooth. That looks delicious. All right, we blended until smooth. What's our next step? Let's check our recipe. We did step 1 and 2. Number 3, put ice cubes into blender, and we need 2 cups of ice. All right, there's our 2 cups of ice. We're gonna put them in the blender and blend until smooth. This is gonna be even louder because ice is much harder than strawberries. I'm gonna have to pull the lid on extra tight. And then I'm gonna find the button that says ice crush to start with, and then I'll turn it to blend after the ice is nice and crushed up. Are you ready? Plug your ears if you're not up for the loud noise. Here we go. All right, we're gonna turn it off and check it out. I'm just gonna check the top here. Oh, it is smooth. It is definitely a senior slushie. I don't have a cool cup to put a slushie in, so I'm gonna pour mine in here. Remember, this is 4 servings, so it's enough to share with family or friends. Let's check it out. 2 thumbs up, delicious. Strawberries, honey, vanilla, and ice. That's all you need to make this yummy, refreshing drink. If you have leftovers, you could even pour them into an ice cube tray and then cover that tray with tin foil and poke in popsicle sticks to make some nice, cool treats for these hot days ahead. I hope you guys had fun watching me make and taste the recipe, and I hope a few of you get to try to make it too. If you do, I want to hear about it. I hope you're all doing well. I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.